Hi guys, welcome back to another Cinematic Mike review. Today I'm reviewing Batman The Long Halloween. Batman The Long Halloween, if you haven't read it, I actually recommend that you read it. It's about Batman. It takes place with Batman being in his year two. I think this takes place after Batman Year One, which there's a graphic novel for that. If you haven't read Batman Year One, read it. If you haven't seen the film, watch it also because I think Batman Year One film was also a good adaptation of the source material. In this story, Batman's actually faced with a problem that seems like it's way out of his hand. There's someone that's going around killing people, and he's not just killing people, he's killing the people that are connected to the mob. So it seems like a big mob war, and it's not only affecting Batman, it's not affecting his people, it's also affecting the mob. And I think that's good because it's an enemy to the enemies of Batman and Batman. I just finished the film and I actually enjoyed it. I there was something that kind of bothered me about it, something that kind of left because it doesn't leave you big time feeling great. It kind of leaves you in a way where it's like, oh, it's over, and that's kind of something that was bothering me. One thing I gotta mention is I was actually debating whether I should read Batman: The Long Halloween before this movie started again, but I thought about it and I'm like, oh wait, but then the whole vibe, the whole mystery thing's gonna kind of go away. I don't want to have to watch the movie and then be like, oh yeah, well I just read that, so I know all about that. And I made a mistake. I actually ended up looking up who the killer was, and I regret doing that because I think that kind of kills it. But something happens in this film that kind of made me be like, oh wow, well, I guess it doesn't matter now. And plus, like, since the animated movies are known to do changes, it actually kind of helped out. The Something happens in this film that actually kind of helped out with my situation of having looked up who the killer was. Something that was bothersome about the film was actually that they didn't do Tim Sal's artwork, which was upsetting because I really liked the artwork, the funky artwork, the colors, the designs, the look, the curves, the way everything, like, there's something about Tim Sal's artwork that is great. It's nice to be in that world, and I wish they would have done it here. I found out that it's not. They were gonna do Tim Sal's artwork or close to it, but I found out that it was because of the situation of the Matt Reeves Batman movie, that they thought they were gonna do the Long Halloween, and I guess they kind of it caused something to stop them from doing the film, which caused them to start with the film Man of Tomorrow. And I guess that they had to be in continuity, they had to keep to that artwork. But I feel like some parts of the film kind of try to do a little bit, like Joker's teeth kind of look like they're large and like vertical the way they looked in the graphic novel. This film, I like the vibe that it has. It brings out this scary feeling to it. Even when it opens up in the Halloween, you get it because this all takes place in holidays. The killer's actually killing on holidays, so that's where it takes place. It takes place in holidays, and I like the way they set the mood for the Halloween because you bring this kind of eeriness, this kind of scariness to it, this threat that's just kind of looming around. And I think that's what the film does. It's something that reminded me of like No Country for Old Men, where Tommy Lee Jones is actually scared of something that he can't really see, and I think that's something that's really good because there's something great about something being there, but you can't really see it, and I think that does well in this film. I like the voice cast in this film. I like Jensen Ackles' voice. I remember when I saw that Jensen Ackles was gonna be the Batman. I ended up getting shocked because I thought, I know he's from Supernatural, but I never seen Supernatural, and I never seen Jensen Ackles in anything. But from like pictures that I seen of Supernatural, he looked like a guy that had like a low voice, and I was like, "What? That guy is gonna do voice of Batman?" So I didn't know how that was gonna be. But then I saw him in an interview, and I'm like, "Oh man, that guy actually has a deep voice." Josh Duhamel's actually in here too, which is cool. He's from Transformers and he's playing Harvey Dent. And when I got into the animated films, I ended up learning that it was cool because they ended up getting actors that are in live action films. Like Batman Year One had Ben McKenzie and Bryan Cranston. Something else that I was looking forward to was actually David Dastmalchian, who's actually playing the Calendar Man in this film. I was excited to see that because it was funny because he's actually in The Dark Knight, and I think The Dark Knight was his first film. That was the first place that I got introduced to him, and then I saw him in other movies where I was like, oh, he's from The Dark Knight, and now he's back here. And The Dark Knight is actually inspired by The Long Halloween, so that was pretty cool to see. And I think he did great as the voice of the Calendar Man. I think it's a great scene. I enjoyed the film because it brought back like the films that I liked, like the film noir, and I like that, and I think it captured it right in this animated film. Some mystery that we're going along trying to solve the puzzle. We're also people that are shocked. We don't know who's causing havoc. We don't know how we're gonna capture him. The film did leave me a little bummed out because we only lead the story of Batman: The Long Halloween ends up leading up to actually the villains, the actual rogue villains of Batman. First, we start off with the mobsters, we start off with the murders, and then we're barely starting to get into the villains, and that's kind of what happens. And we get all the way to the end. You end up getting all the villains, and right here we only got like Catwoman and the Joker, and I was hoping that at least we got one more villain in this film, but we didn't. So that's kind of left me bummed out. This film didn't seem to have like a lot of big time action like the other films have brought, but it was still a good film, and I still like the story. I don't remember if it's following exactly because I haven't read the graphic novel in a while, but I enjoyed this. Like I said, I love that mood that it brings about this mysteriousness. There's something there that you can't see. When I found out that they were splitting the film in two parts, I actually thought that it was gonna end somewhere else. I thought it was gonna be a different end point, but I like the ending that it has because, as I said, it's the situation that I found myself in where I looked up who the killer was, and the way this film ends, it actually helps me out and be like, oh, who's the killer? The film's not one that can be put into one movie because the book, the graphic novel, is actually long. If you pick it up, it's actually long. I remember the first time I got it, it was, I think it's like one of the biggest graphic novels that I have, and it was close to Watchmen. And the thing that I do when I read, I don't uh, start reading and then stop and then pick up where I left off. I actually read the whole thing, and that story is amazing. And I thought about it, and I'm like, well, you can't really put that into one movie. So it's good that it's split in two. But I kind of felt like I wanted the film to go a little bit further than where it went to. I wanted to at least see like one more villain or one more holiday, and it kind of left me kind of bummed out right there. But you think about it and you think part two, then the what I wanted is probably going to come in part two because the graphic novel, it leads up to the villains, all the costume villains, and maybe part two is actually going to lead up to everything. And there's a lot that's still that it hasn't got to, and so I think it's cool because it's gonna stand out. Right now I'm actually thinking it kind of reminds me of Mockingjay, how Mockingjay part one felt like its own thing, and then part two felt like a whole other thing. It's the same thing with like Deadly Hollows part one and part two. They felt like something separate. They felt something different, and I think that's kind of what's happening here. I do recommend Batman: The Long Halloween. I recommend that you watch it, or you know what you can do? You can either read the graphic novel or don't read the graphic novel and watch Batman: The Long Halloween. That way you could go along with this mystery because it's already out. So you want to go with the mystery. That's my review on Batman: The Long Halloween. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.